You know the feeling, right? You're stuck on hold for what feels like an eternity. Or you're talking to a service agent who just doesn't get it. It is so frustrating. But what if all that frustration could actually be a company's biggest strength? Today we're going to look at how fixing those terrible customer experiences isn't just about making people happy, it's about making a business incredibly profitable.
It's a great question, isn't it? We can all think of maybe one or two companies with amazing service, but man, for every one of those, there are dozens that seem to get it wrong every single time. It feels like good service is just a random accident, a bit of luck. But what if it's not luck at all? What if it's actually a science?
Let's take a look at a real-world company, Stena Line, a huge ferry operator in Europe. For a while there, they were the poster child for bad service. And we're not talking about just a few grumpy employees. This was a deep, systematic problem. The whole company was so rigid and top-down that the staff felt totally powerless, and you can bet their customers felt completely ignored. This was a business basically sinking under the weight of its own bad service. They knew they needed a total overhaul, not just some small tweaks.
See, to fix a problem like that, you have to know what the problem actually is. Just telling your team to be nicer or try harder, that's a surefire way to fail. You need a map, a framework, to figure out exactly where things are breaking down. And for that, we're going to turn to a really powerful tool called the GAPS model.
Okay, I know this diagram looks a little intense at first glance, but trust me, the idea is pretty simple. Think of it like a roadmap that shows all the places a service experience can go wrong. It tracks the journey from what a customer expects over on the left all the way to the actual service they get on the right. Each of those gaps is a potential breakdown, a point where the company can misunderstand, mess up, or just fail to deliver. Let's start with the very first gap. And honestly, it's the big one, the knowledge gap. This is what happens when senior management is just completely out of touch with what their customers actually want. It's like a doctor prescribing medicine without even asking about your symptoms. If you don't really know what your customers care about, everything else you do is built on a shaky foundation. And then you've got the delivery gap. This one is huge. A company might have this amazing, brilliant plan for what great service should look like. But if the people on the front lines, the ones actually talking to customers, can't or won't deliver on that plan, then it's all for nothing. This is where things like training, having the right tools, and actually empowering your employees become absolutely essential. It's like you can have a 5-star recipe, but you still need chefs who know how to cook. So here's the main takeaway from all this. Great service isn't some kind of magic. It's not an art. It's a system. It's all about methodically finding these gaps, the knowledge gap, the delivery gap, all of them, and then just relentlessly working day in and day out to close them. All right, so you know the gaps are there. But how do you know how big they are or where to start? Well, you can't manage what you don't measure. And that brings us to the next really important step, gathering the right kind of information. So when it comes to measuring service, companies really have two different toolkits. On one side, you have your soft measures. These are the feelings, right? Customer surveys, focus groups, stuff that tells you how people perceive your service. But then you've got the hard measures. These are the cold, hard facts. We're talking about things you can count, time, or measure, like how long a customer waited on hold. If you only look at one of these, you've got a massive blind spot. You need both to get the full picture.
And if you want to see a company that has mastered hard measures, look no further than FedEx. They don't just hope for good service. They literally hunt for failure and put a number on it. They created something called the Service Quality Index, and with it, they track 12 specific service failures, which they brilliantly call horrors, every single day. Look at this. Each horror, from a lost package to a missed pickup, gets a different point value based on how bad it is. This turns vague complaints into a hard daily score they can track and improve. It's genius.
Okay, so you're measuring everything. You've got all this data, and it's showing you where the problems are. But now what? Where do you even begin? Because just like a doctor who only treats the symptoms will never cure the disease, just fixing surface-level service issues won't work. You got to dig deeper and find the root cause.
This thing that looks like a fish skeleton is called, you guessed it, a fishbone diagram. It's an amazing tool for getting to that root cause. Let's say the problem is a late flight. Well, the cause could be anything, right? Weather, a mechanical issue, not enough staff at the gate. This diagram helps a team brainstorm and map out every single possible cause under different categories, making sure they don't miss anything.
But here's the thing. A fishbone diagram can get overwhelming. I mean, you could end up with dozens and dozens of potential causes for just one problem. If you try to fix all of them at once, you're going to get nowhere fast. So, how do you decide what to tackle first? Where do you focus your energy? And the answer to that question is something called Pareto analysis. You might know it as the 80-20 rule. It's such a simple but incredibly powerful idea that most of your problems, like 80% of them, are usually caused by just a few key things, maybe 20% of the causes. Just look at this chart for an airline. It shows that a staggering 88% of all their flight delays came from one single thing, waiting for late passengers to connect. By figuring that out, they knew they could ignore all the other small stuff and pour all their energy into solving that one massive problem. That's how you make a real impact.
So, let's recap. We've diagnosed the problem with the GAPS model, we've measured it using both hard and soft data, and we've used Pareto analysis to focus our efforts on what really matters. So, what happens now? What's the payoff for all this work? It all comes together in this really powerful relationship, which you can see in this triangle: service quality, productivity, and profitability. They aren't three separate things you chase. They're all connected. When you improve your service quality, your whole operation becomes more productive, right? You make fewer mistakes, you spend less time fixing things, and that directly boosts your profitability. Better service leads to happier, more loyal customers who spend more money. It turns customer service from a cost center into a value-creating engine for the whole company. So let's just pull this all together. What we've learned today is that great service is never, ever an accident. It's a system. It's a process of going from chaos to clarity. It all starts with diagnosing the right problems, finding the gaps. Then it's about measuring what actually matters, using both hard data and soft feedback. And finally, it's about being ruthless and focusing only on that vital few causes that create most of the pain. And when you do all that, the result is a much healthier and way more profitable business. And that brings us to a final thought for you. The next time you have one of those truly great customer experiences, one that's just seamless and easy and you walk away feeling great, take a second and try to look behind the curtain. Can you see the system at work? Can you spot the company that has clearly closed the gaps, that measures what matters, and that focuses on getting the big things right? My guess is you'll see it wasn't an accident at all. Thanks for tuning in.